So, yeah, I know I'm a week late. I had to do a lot of cleaning. That's why some things might look a little different for right now. The angle's not exactly what I want to be because I don't have all of my equipment out right now. But I didn't want to delay this any longer because, like I said, I am a week late. So let's get down to business. By the way, before we even start, the immediate thing I thought when I saw this cover was this is one of the best pieces of cover art that I have ever, like, it's probably one of my favorite pieces of cover art ever. Like, legitimately. I'm a huge sucker for minimalistic art, and this is perfect. Okay. Before we go any further, though, I do want to say, not now, but a little further into the video, there are going to be spoilers. I'm going to do one part of the video doesn't have any spoilers. That'll be, just my basic review of the book, spoiler-free, and then the second part, I'm sorry if my camera just fell a little bit. Okay, I'm going to move that slightly. Wow, I'm super professional, and now my head's not entirely in frame. Okay, where was I? Yes, first half is going to be spoiler-free review, that's just my rating and stuff like that. Then the second part, I'll put a little frame in between saying, okay, this is when the spoilers start. That'll be, that'll have spoilers. That'll what I'll go into what the actual plot is, character-wise, talking, that'll be like, well, really good, interesting parts of the story, other than just my saying, oh my gosh, this book is so good. I think that's just how I need to start this off. I can't say it's the best book I've read all year, because I've read this book all year, because it's the third week of the year. But this is probably one of the best books I've read in quite a while that is like a standalone book. Heck, even then I'd say it's better than some series books. You might hate me for saying this. I think I like this better than I like the first Harry Potter book. And I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, but I think I like this better than I like Sorcerer's Stone, completely and honestly, because it's just amazing. I will warn you, though, if there is for some reason, a 75-year-old grandmother watching this video, one, I'm sorry. Also, don't go back through my video catalog, but don't read this book, because, well, let's see. There's the first page. No, the first page doesn't, but this book is incredibly, incredibly vulgar. It is so full of fucks and shits, and it's so vulgar. I think the only one I didn't see used... No, I did see bitch used in this book quite a few times. Also, this book is written by, I believe... No, okay, she's not English. Rainbow Rowell is not English, but this book is written... It is, the setting is England, because it's a book about wizards. So, obviously, Harry Potter, Charlie Bone, both of those are based in England. But, yeah, it's based in England, so there are some cultural differences. Like, they say Happy Christmas. If you're triggered by people saying Happy Christmas, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said it without giving a trigger warning beforehand. I'm so sorry, but I just need to warn you. They say it quite a few times when Christmas rolls around. And because I just said that a few times, hold on, let me just... Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Are you fucking not triggered anymore? No, I legitimately know people who get hugely upset by the phrase Happy Christmas, to which my response is, fuck off. But no, they do say it in this book. There are a few other things cultural-wise that I'll get to once we get into the spoiler section, because there's things that I would say in reference to it that I can't say without spoiling the book. So yeah, but I absolutely love the book. It's really cool. I love the characters. It's got really nice twists that you don't expect. As you're reading towards it, you can think, oh, that's how it's going to end. But it's not like it's going to suddenly be, like, dramatic, not expected, not explained whatsoever. It's not M. Night Shyamalan. But it's also not like it's obvious from the beginning, which I'll get also more into that when we get into the spoilers. Now I'll warn you though, this book's hefty. Like, it's, story-wise, it's 517 pages. That is one of the longer books that I've read. I've read longer books. I think Blood of Olympus was closer to, it was like 600 pages. So, like I said, I read long, of course, there are Harry Potter books that are longer than that. But there are longer books, but this is one of the longest books I've read in quite a while, which is a combination of the fact of the books that I've been reading haven't been that long, and also the fact that I haven't been reading a lot, which is something I want to, that's what why I'm doing this. Even if I did accidentally end up being a little late. I'm actually, I don't know how I'm gonna fix this. But I'll find a way. So yeah. It's a great book, though. I highly suggest it, especially if you are a fan of things like Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, Charlie Bone, if you've heard of that series. If you haven't, read it after we're done with this. Or if you can read 2 books at once, read Charlie Bone, and then also read the other books we're going to read. Because I don't want you to miss out on this, but Charlie Bone is a really good series that I think everyone should read, especially when they're around my age. At least, like, they should start reading it, like, maybe a little younger and still be reading. It's 8 books long. You're not gonna read it all. And most people aren't gonna power through it in, you know, a week. Although I know people like that. You know who you are. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I can say now without spoiling anything. So I think right about now we're gonna go to the spoiler section. If you haven't finished this book, which, like I said, it's 517 pages, so I can't blame you if you haven't had the time to read the book, because even I read like 6 chapters before I even filmed the video announcing I was doing this. If you haven't read the book yet, I highly suggest stopping now, because there's a lot that is going to be revealed that you probably wouldn't want to be revealed. But also, don't go on Tumblr ever if you haven't read this book and you intend to read it and you don't want spoilers, because this book is major Tumblr material, to which we will get to right about now. Okay, so now we're actually getting into the spoiler part of it, which this is, holy fuck, I literally probably gonna have fucking welts on my knees from just banging my hand into my knee, banging into my knees repeatedly while reading this book. It's so, oh my god, it's so good. Okay. First thing I need to say, this, on the cover, yeah, this is some canon shit right here. This book is fucking gay as hell. Like I said, it's Tumblr material. This book is gay as hell. I just thought I needed to say that up front right now, so that you know beforehand, this book is super gay. But it's also fucking... They spent 4 fucking pages describing a kiss between our main characters. Yeah, it's so good, though. I fucking love this book so much. I knew I was gonna get like this, I just didn't think. Hold on. I knew I was gonna get like this, I just didn't think I would just be so... I think this shot is appropriate right here, you know? Very color coordinated. Also flannel, because if it's gay, it has to have flannel. Like, that's pretty much a rule, I think. Let me know, is that, I think that's a rule. Let me know, I think it's a rule. If not, I'm sorry, but it's a rule. Okay. Furthermore, though, this book made me feel so many things other than excitement. It made me mad, it made me devastated, it made me laugh hysterically in some parts. But it's so good. It's like an emotional roller coaster, but an emotional roller coaster you know is going to have a happy ending. Which is really, I absolutely loved it. It was, this is not my copy. This belongs to the library that I go to. See, it's got the, it's got the little library tag here. I will be getting my own copy of this book as soon as as soon as I can. Because I love this book so much, and I want to have a copy of this to hold forever. I just hope I can find a copy with this cover, because the other cover is, it's good, but it's weird. Yeah, let me just, yeah, like I said, it's kind of weird, especially if that's not how you envision the characters. If that's the first cover of the book that you saw, then I can totally imagine, maybe that being, something that's normal. That's how you vision them. But when you give me this here, and I associate this with the characters, and then you give me that, it doesn't work out very well. Okay, so on from how I actually feel about the book to the actual plot line. So the plot line is, you have this school for wizards. Well, actually, hold on, I should probably start before then. We have Simon Snow. Beautiful sunshine child, Simon Snow. He is, the book has a few main characters, but the book is his story. It's like the Avengers. Yes, there's a lot of main characters, but it's Captain America's story. So, like I said, okay, you have Simon Snow. He is he has magic, which is weird for someone like him, because he is what is known as a normal, which means that he wasn't born into magic. Like, he is, to the knowledge of everyone at the beginning of the book, his parents were not magical, and I can see the little cat in the corner, I know. Please do not be distracted by it like I am. Okay, to everyone's knowledge, his parents were not magic in any way. He was just dropped off in a pretty much like an orphanage in the middle of nowhere, and he just had the words Simon Snow written on his arm, and that's why that's his name. Here, come here. Come here. This is the kitten. This is Penny. This is the kitten that I posted a video about a while ago. Can you not be so cute and distracting? I'm trying to film a video here. Say hi. No, the camera's right there. Say hi. Say hi. Really? You were all talkative before I picked you up. Okay, I'm gonna set you down now. Before it starts. Okay, but yeah, Simon he was raised in the world of normals until he's about 11, when the mage, aka Davy, but we'll get to that later, comes and takes him to Watford, which is the school of wizards, magicians, whatever you want to refer to them as. I can't show you a full map of it here. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me just. Okay, there's a map of it. If I couldn't find a map for it, I'm sorry, but I'm sure I could find a map for it. Hold on. I got this. Yeah, this isn't a real bookshelf back here, in case you were too dumb to realize. Here we go. Yep. View image. I know, I should have gotten this done before now, but piss off. Okay, this is the school. You probably can't see it very well, but this is the school here. We have Mama's House, Cloisters, Weeping Tower, Whitechapel, Courtyard. This is like the school. It's a boarding school for wizards, basically. It's like Harry Potter. Like it's like Hogwarts, but there aren't houses. Well, there are houses, obviously, but they aren't split up like Harry Potter houses. So, Simon Snow is brought to Watford by the mage, and then there is this ritual known as the Crucible. Well, the Crucible is an object, but there's a ritual that is done with the Crucible that is also called the Crucible, and it's what decides who you're going to have to live with when you're at Watford for the next 7 years of your life. And Simon is just so lucky enough to get Baz Pitch as his roommate. Tyrannus Basilton Grim Pitch is Simon Snow's roommate. If you're wondering why Baz's name is so long, it's because he's really fucking rich and kind of a prick, like almost the entire story. Literally at the beginning, the only reason Simon or Baz haven't killed the other is because of this thing known as the Thing. The Thing. It's called the Thing. I don't remember. The Anathema, that's what it's called. I'm probably bastardizing the name. But the Anathema. It basically says if you attack your roommate when you're in your room, then you will get kicked out of the school. You will just be sucked out a window and thrown off of school property. The magical gates that only open for magicians will not open for you ever again. You will never be allowed in Watford ever again. That would really suck. Which is why they get until about your 4th year, they give you warnings if you attack your roommate, unless you seriously attack them. If there's just like a fight, then you will go basically mute and your hands will go numb. Because how this magic works, it's not like Wingardium Leviosa, sorry. It's basically, they take words and phrases that us normals use, and they're powerful phrases, and they give magic. So, like, there's, like, several phrases, like, things from nursery rhymes, Bible verses, song lyrics, we'll get to that. We'll get to the song lyrics thing. You know, little, like, idioms, things like that. Powerful phrases that have meaning, that have, like, meanings beyond themselves. Like, if I just say, the house, but I give magic to it, it won't do anything. That's not a spell. Now, if I were to say, like, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, that might do something. It's actually, that's never used in here, but it's never really used in here. But, like, if that's given magic, then that might do something. Or, the game's afoot. I know the game's afoot is used in here, because one of the final projects in Magical Words, which is basically, like, it's basically like, hey, here are words that are magic, here's how you use them, and then here's how you use them well. The game is afoot. It's a project in their last year of Magic Words, that they have to take a phrase and make a spell out of it, and find some use that hadn't been found before. Which is really, really hard unless you speak a really obscure language. So basically, anyone who speaks Inuktitut would be, like, set for, like, life. Oh, okay. So, you have the Magic Words, the Anathema. And then, okay, so Simon's best friend is Penelope Buttons. Penelope, or Penny, is fantastic. And no, I did not name my cat after a book character, although I'd totally do that. It just so happens that we had the kitten before I started reading this book, so piss off. Yeah, Penelope is great. She's basically basically, like, I'm assuming quite a few of you are going to come from either my Tumblr or my friend's Tumblr who kind of shouted me out last time. Imagine someone who would perfectly belong on Tumblr. And that's what Penelope is. She is a strong, independent female character who still believes that it's important to help her friends when they need it. But also isn't great at taking help herself, but if she really needs it, then she is willing to take help. Okay, so you have Penelope, she's great. Then you have Agatha. Agatha Wellbeloved. There we go. Okay. At the beginning of the book, Simon and Agatha are dating. And then they're not. They're just not. Like, we'll give it a bit of backstory that at the end of their sixth year, because they're all, Simon, Penelope, Agatha, Baz, and if I'm mispronouncing Baz, I don't think I am, because it's B-A-Z, but if I am, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna keep pronouncing it like that for now. If I get corrected, if I'm saying it wrong, please tell me. But they're all in the same year, and at the end of their 6th year, Baz and Agatha are spotted out in the woods, holding hands, and Simon sees them, but doesn't say anything, because the main antagonist of the entire book kind of picks up Simon and Penny, and launches them to some random place in another part of England. It's fucking intense. And then Simon grows wings, and then flies them to a train station. Simon picks someone's pocket and buys them a train ticket back to Watford. Oh my god, this book is something else. Because this book is vulgar, this book is gay, this book has the main character is just kind of he's kind of a prick, but like, in a weird, like, everyone in this book is kind of a prick, but it's okay because they're all lovable for it. I actually have notes that I wrote down for this, like, as I was reading it, but they're on my phone, which I'm recording with, so I can't really get to them right now. Let's see, what else is there? Okay, Simon and Agatha break up, and then, the main antagonist, which I brought up, the insidious Humdrum. The insidious Humdrum, Humdrum. It's a great name. It was given based off of this quote, which describes the effect of the Humdrum. What the Humdrum does is he basically there's magic in the atmosphere that magicians draw from, but it is able to replenish itself, which will be an important plot point in a little bit. But the Humdrum just comes in and sucks away all the magic, and it's just not there anymore. And as of the end of this book, we don't know if the magic comes back. We just don't. Okay, so, yeah. The Humdrum picks up Penny and Snow and throws them into some random place that I forget the exact name of in England. Okay, and then they get back, and then that's basically that's the end of the year. It's right at the end of the year before the ending ceremony. And then fast forward a year, that is when the events of this book starts. So we're already kind of given a bit of a this book has a lot of flashbacks in it, because it goes back to when Simon first discovered he had magic. Then when the first flashback is when the mage first got Simon. Then it goes back to that time in the woods. Then it expands on that time in the woods. Then the next flashback, these aren't connected, by the way. These are kind of sprinkled throughout the book. And then, like, the flashback after the more expanded version of what happened in the woods, that's when we learn about, like, the wings and the pickpocketing and all that. That's when we learn about when Simon first discovered he had magic. Okay, but to explain that, I kind of need to explain how Simon's magic works. It doesn't work, okay. Normal people's magic in this world kind of works like a well. It's just kind of, you can draw from it, but there's a limited amount. but that does get replenished by the atmosphere after a while. So, you know, you can draw from the well and then use the magic. Simon doesn't work like that. Or if he's basically like a well, but it's bottomless and always full. Which is fucking intense. Simon can't really, it's like having a bottomless well that's always full, but not having a cup to get water from it. To get magic out of it, you have to make it overflow. You have to you kind of just has to will it to fill more and overflow. The magic floods out, and it's incredibly destructive. When Simon first discovers he has magic, he wakes up from a nightmare. The orphanage that he's in has completely burned down around him, except for him in his bed, and everyone else in the orphanage was flung streets away, completely unharmed. That's how fucking powerful this magic is. He is the most powerful mage of his era, if not all time. So, that's just kind of how his magic works. And then so we get back, we have kidnapped, and we get back, Simon is coming back to Watford. We learn about his, you know, how awful it kind of is being at these orphanages in England. Because it's an orphanage in England, it's gotta be awful. I'm sorry. Oracles of Delphi Keep is another really good book. It's not as magic, but one of the main settings is an orphanage in Delphi. No, it's Delphi Keep. It's in Kent. There it is, it's in Kent. It's like in Kent, England. It's Delphi Keep. Okay, but that's besides the point. He gets to Watford and is just mowing down on food. This is when we meet Penelope. And this is when a lot of the conflict kinda, like, not the main conflict, but a lot of the secondary conflicts start. Like, Penelope brings up what happened between Agatha and Baz in the woods. And then Simon talks about not really wanting to talk about it. He just kind of brushes it away. And then he gets back to his room and he realizes Baz hasn't shown up yet. Now, something you need to know about Tyrannus Basilton Grimm-Pitch. His mother, who is Natasha Grimm-Pitch, was the headmistress of Watford before she died. And she was big on, education. So Baz not being there, especially with how important his mother is and protecting her legacy is to him not being there is really weird. So Simon gets suspicious. Now, Simon has already been suspicious of Baz for a while, because Baz is a vampire. Simon doesn't know it for sure, but Baz is a vamp. But he doesn't know for sure, he just knows it's true. If you watch any Bill Maher, you kind of get that, it's one of those things where I can't exactly prove it, but I know it has to be true. So, yeah, Baz is a vampire. So Snow is always suspicious of him, especially since Baz is a member of the old families who are not really happy with what the mage has done since Natasha Grimm-Pitch died. The mage basically came in and he reformed everything. He did sweeping reforms across. This guy is basically Che Guevara, except magic. And also not a communist. Kind of. Basically, he allowed... before the mage came in and took over, the mage was already kind of in charge of the coven, I think. But then he was elevated... No. The mage wasn't in charge of the coven. Yes, he was. The mage was in charge of the coven. And then he was elevated to basically temporary headmaster of Watford. So you have that. And then he comes in and he's like, before he came in, only the most powerful and magic-born magicians were allowed to come in. And only humans. Which isn't a major problem because normally non-humans don't have a huge control of their magic. Like, they can draw from magic, like pixies, vampires, numpties, all these things can kind of have magic, but they can't really draw on it, unless it's, like, a human who's turned into a vampire. Baz. I'm sorry. I meant Baz. I shouldn't have coughed there. I already said he's a vampire. So yeah. But the mage comes in and says, no, everyone can come to Watford. We want we want information to be free and open. Kind of. We'll get to that. There's a lot of things where it's like, we'll get to that. But yeah, so Simon, before the mage came in, Simon would not have been allowed to attend Watford because he was raised as a normal. He was not magic by lineage to the knowledge of everyone else. There are a few people who knew his lineage, but none of those people were Simon, and none of those people were members of the old family. There were 2 people that knew Simon's lineage. And once again, we'll get to that. So, Simon is allowed in. Baz isn't. He goes in. He's paired with Baz. Fast forward to the beginning of the 7th year. Baz isn't there. Simon gets suspicious and starts searching everywhere. Like, I mean everywhere. This guy's literally, like, tearing down these trees trying to find him. Which doesn't make the wood nymphs very happy, but the wood nymphs are fucking bitches. They're never happy. So, Baz finally returns after all of this drama has gone through. Like, Simon and Agatha have broken up, all this drama has happened, and he just storms into the mess hall one day, and it's like the savior has returned, except for the fact that the savior is a vampire, and he's also very injured because he's only had blood for the last 6 weeks. Now, a lot of people don't know this. Vampires need blood and food, just not as much food. So, but Baz basically just storms in. It's a huge dramatic thing because he's Baz. He needs to make a scene. He needs to make it seem like this was all planned. He can't let it know that he was kidnapped by fucking numpties. How the fuck were you kidnapped by Okay. I'm calm now. Let's see here. So, Baz comes in. It's this huge display. And everyone's just shocked and awed. But Simon is still suspicious about what happened because Baz is very sickly looking. Like, even for a he's pale normally because he's a vampire, but he's also an Englishman. But he's even more pale than that. And that's pretty fucking pale. That's pale. Actually, I can't say that. I'm not super pale. But, like, that's pretty fucking... That's whiter than Anderson Cooper white. That's whiter than Anderson Cooper. So, Simon is very worried. But because Baz is so pale and sickly looking and is also limping. And it's just this huge thing. And then... we find out... And then... Okay. We went in your head. I'm sorry. I gotta... I don't want to give too much... I do want to give a lot away. I want to talk about this book in detail and go on for hours about it because of how good it is. Okay. Baz comes in. Snow tries to figure out what's wrong. There's this huge... They're always fighting. Like, they can't physically fight, but there's always verbal arguments, and they're always just not on good terms. Until they are, because it turns out that Natasha Grimm-Pitch, Baz's mother, was killed by vampires who attacked Watford. Like, this was known by everyone who isn't reading the book, that vampires attacked Watford and killed Headmistress Grimm-Pitch. And they don't know that Baz was turned by those same vampires, but he was. Like, that's how Baz was turned, was by these vampires. Okay. So, we get to there, and we're trying to... basically, Simon figures out that the people who hired the vampires probably are connected to the Humdrum. Because he's trying to figure out how to do this, because this is a huge thing. Like, when you suck magic out of the atmosphere, there's just nothing... Like, sucking the magic out of the atmosphere creates a vacuum to try and get magic back into it. It's like when you have really super dry, hot air. So any like, moisture is just wicked away. And it's just sucked out. Magicians who go into this, some pass out, some throw up. I don't think any have died, but it's very, very not good for them because of how acclimated they are to magic. Okay, so continuing on, Simon and Baz come to an agreement. They will help each other. Simon will help Baz figure out who killed his mother, if Baz will help him figure out the same thing, so that they will help each other to find out who got the vampires to attack Watford, because that's not typically something vampires do. They figure out who sent the vampires to attack Watford, so that Baz can figure out who killed his mom, and Simon can try and figure out more about the humdrum, because this is a huge, huge thing in the magic community. So, fast forward a little bit more. They're going through this, they're walking through this, trying to figure out how this happened. Penelope comes in and helps, even though she wasn't, originally. And then Christmas break comes around. Happy Christmas, y'all. And so, it's a boarding school. It's a boarding school, so you can stay for Christmas, but you don't have to. Most people don't. In fact, Simon usually goes with Agatha, because him and Agatha are dating, and Agatha's parents love Simon, because Simon's fucking fantastic, even though he's kind of a prick sometimes. I'm sorry, this air is not, hold on, I'm gonna go open a window so I can have a bit of fresh air. I might use my inhaler too, hold on. Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna set the book down. Okay, so, but Simon and Agatha have broken up, so Simon doesn't really have any place to go, so he stays at Watford and walks to do some more research. And then he finds something out, because there is Ebb, the goat herder. You see, like, there's some goats here. Well, Ebb works with these. Ebb is basically the goat. She's the goat herder. That's not really an official needed job at Watford. But we find out later that it's kind of, if she wasn't here, she might have gotten herself into a lot of trouble. So Headmistress Grim Pitch, Baz's mom, gave her a job there as a goat herd. So, we find out that, okay, there's the visiting thing. This happened. There's visitings. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. There's these things called the visiting. It's every 20 years when the veil, that's what it's called, the veil. Basically, it's the veil between the living world and the ghost world kind of lifts slightly. And so ghosts are able to come in and communicate. And they can't lie to you. So Baz's mom tries to come and find Baz. Can't find him, though, because he's not where he's supposed to be. So, she gives a message to Simon to find Nicodemus and avenge her death, and then also gives Simon a kiss and says, "This is for Baz," which is really super gay when you get further in the story and you find out that they start dating. Spoiler alert, except this whole section, like, for almost the last half hour has been spoilers. Okay, so, where do we go from, okay, so, Simon figures out who Nicodemus is. Nicodemus is Ebb's brother, who voluntarily became a vampire. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that, I had to go get some food. So we were talking about Nicodemus. He's Ebb's brother, who voluntarily joined the vampires. Which wasn't never really a thing. No one really voluntarily joins the vampires. Except Nicodemus, because he wants to be, more powerful and live longer and all these things. Because Nicodemus is kind of, yeah. Okay, so, Headmistress Grim Pitch, Baz's mom, tells this to Simon And then a few days later, Baz comes back, but Simon doesn't have a chance to tell him until a few days later, and that is why Snow and Baz start to work together as a team, which leads to interesting things further down the line. Okay, so we already talked about that. Christmas break, Simon figures out who Nicodemus is. It's Zeb's brother. So Simon hightails it to Baz's house, like Baz's actual house. And he discovers, so he goes to Baz's house, and then goes in. Baz comes to the door, and the first thing that Simon says to Baz is he mentions the fact that Baz is wearing jeans, and I'm just like, me too. Because you don't wear jeans here. You wear, like, you know, like kind of dress pants, because it's uniform. Because it's a boarding school. Most boarding schools have uniforms. Hashtag not spawn. Hashtag please don't sue me. I'm very poor. So yeah. Most boarding schools have uniform, so you never really he's never seen Baz in jeans, and apparently the sight of Baz in jeans is just so shocking to Snow that it's just like, this is the first thing I have to mention, and I'm just like, me too. Okay, so there's this whole thing, and then Simon and Baz go to Nicodemus after talking it over for a little while, and so Simon said go to Nicodemus. They find him in a vampire bar in South London. It's either South London or East London. It's somewhere in London, like southeastern London. And so they find Nicodemus, they talk to him, and he says that someone did send the vampires, but it's not the humdrum. But he can't say who sent the vampires because it would put his, like, Nicodemus's life at risk. And then Baz just kind of, Baz is a smoker, by the way, which let me just I don't even want to say this out loud. It's such a bad joke, but as soon as I read about Baz legitimately being a smoker, I just thought this. So hold on, Okay, sorry, that's just the first thing I thought when I saw that Baz was a smoker. Why did the light just get so much worse in here? Why? No, I'm, sorry, I just looked straight at the light. That was a bad idea. Okay, that's the first thing I thought when Baz was a smoker. But yeah, so vampires are super flammable, which is why it's super ironic that Baz became a vampire, because he's a smoker, and also the Pitches are like major fire wizards, so that's kind of ironic. But vampires, like, I'll hold a match under my hand and I'll get like a burn. Vampires will hold a match under their hand and burn up like flash paper, like gone. So yeah, so Baz just kind of flicks the cigarette at Nicodemus. Nicodemus smothers it out with his drink, and then Baz and Snow just leave like total bams. Although Snow was just kind of standing there looking at his feet the whole time. Okay, so Baz and Snow drive back to the estate, but Baz has to hunt, so he goes out into the woods. Oh, that's why I moved the lighting thing accidentally. I don't know where that has to be. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really messing with the lighting right now. Let me just... That's why the lighting was so messed up, because I accidentally touched it. Okay, so... Yeah, so... Baz and Simon drive back to Baz's house. Baz has to go hunt, so they go into the woods. And then Baz tries to self-immolate and just burn himself up, which is how his mother died, actually, because that's how, like, his mother, she got bit by a vampire, and she burst into flames, killing her and the vampire who was attacking her. Okay. So that's what Baz decides to do. How does Simon decide to make sure that his worst enemy / roommate / friend kind of not kill him, not jump into the fire? He kisses him, and they spend 4 pages describing this. Like, okay. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. Chapter 61. I'm not going to read the whole thing, although there is a chapter I want to read in a little bit that kind of goes into it's further back, but I want to actually go into depth reading it. Okay, so this is page 342. Because I've never kissed anyone before, I was afraid I might bite, and I never wanted to kiss anyone but him. I won't bite, I won't hurt him. I just want to kiss him, then go. Simon, I say, and then he kisses me, and I'm just like, throw my book across the room. And then they just go back and forth. This book switches in between points of view. So it goes to Simon, who describes why he did it, and then Baz describing how it feels, and then Simon describing how it feels, and then Baz, and then Simon, and then Baz, and then Simon, and then Baz's last lines of the chapter on page 345 are, Simon Snow is going to die kissing me. Just not today. And I'm just like, I love this book so much. Like, this book, okay, this book had set it up. This is like, you know, Baz had a crush on Snow for a long time. Also, Baz's father, not the most happy with it, to say the least. I hate my laugh. But yeah, so that happens, and then they just keep making out, like, a lot. They don't go into as much detail, but they just describe how much they're doing it, and I'm just like, yeah, I need. I'm so jealous. Okay, so, have that happen. And then, that's when Penelope and Agatha both come to the estate the day after, which is, it's an interesting dynamic because Snow broke up with Agatha because he thought her and she was cheating on him with Baz, and now he's dating Baz, and it's just like, okay then. So this is where the story's going, cool. So yeah, that was an interesting part, and then from there, you get, okay, Simon and Snow, they're walking on the plan. They're all four of them are there. They're walking on the plan. And then they decide they have to talk to the numpties. And then, so Baz goes off and does that. No, hold on. There was something in between that. Yeah. They agree that they will split up and then all meet together on Boxing Day. Because it's Christmas Eve. They need to get home to their families other than Snow, who's going to stay with Baz and be happy and just like, they even describe it as, Baz is basically like, so why did you come back? And he's like, because I really enjoyed this. And he's like, what, acting like happy little boyfriends and rolling around, and Snevin's just like, yes, and I'm just like, yes. I push my hair to the side when I'm nervous, and I'm just like, keep doing that, and I'm just like, ooh, this book is solid. It's a solid book. I highly suggest it. So yeah, that happens. They all meet up on Agatha doesn't. Agatha doesn't want to be part of this. But Agatha agrees she won't tell anyone. Even though it was a bit of a fight to get Agatha not to tell anyone. So, I'm gonna... That might fix the lighting a little bit. So yeah, Agatha agrees not to tell anyone, but Simon, Baz, and Snow... Simon, Baz, and Snow? That's... Simon, Baz, and Penny all meet up at Penny's house. After actually the humdrum attacked Simon and Baz one night while they were in the woods, and so, like the entirety of the town that Baz lives in, there's just a huge hole in the magic atmosphere now, which is the largest hole that's ever been created. And it gets connected that why these holes are developing is because when Simon draws from the atmosphere, it's kind of like you cut down one tree, the atmosphere will make up for it. You cut down all the trees, the atmosphere won't recover. And that's basically what's happening. Is that Simon is just drawing in all the magic from an area to have these huge attacks, but it's killing the magical atmosphere. So, Simon and Baz meet up with Penelope. They all discuss it. Simon's kind of in denial of it for a little while, but then eventually comes to a sense, is kind of in denial of it for a while. Baz gets mad because there's an argument, because they think, because Penny and Simon think they should go tell the mage. Baz does not think that's a good idea, because that's not a good idea. That is a whoops, nope. It's basically, he went from, at the beginning of the book, kind of this, cool kind of guy, he wants everyone to be able to become a magician, and then in the end he's like, nope, I just want to be really powerful. So it is like communism. He's like, at the beginning at the beginning you say I want everyone to be equal, except me, I want to be more equal than everyone else. All animals are equal except, hold on. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, basically. Which, by the way, we're probably going to end up reading Animal Farm in this. I'm sorry if you don't like Animal Farm, if you don't want to do it. If you don't like Animal Farm, you probably already had to read it. It's only 10 chapters long, so it'll probably be something I do later. But if you don't like it, I'm sorry. But it's a really good book. I really enjoy it. So yeah. And so you go from the fight that they had there. Baz leaves to go hunt the numpties. Remember, well, not hunt them, but like go talk to them. Remember the ones who kidnapped him. Simon goes to talk to the mage. Penelope stays, but also kind of runs away. Like, she runs to a hidden spot near her house, so that, because she feels really nervous about Simon going to talk to the mage, but she can't go with him. Simon refuses to let her go with him. Okay, so what happens to Baz? Baz goes to the numpties. The numpties are not huge fans of him, because when Baz was rescued, it was by his Aunt Fiona, who just kind of massacred a bunch of them. And, like, just completely killed them. Okay, and then Baz goes and talks to them. The numpties aren't huge fans of his, so they kind of start attacking until he creates fire. But then they get really close, because that's one thing numpties want, is they want to be warm, so they draw in really close. And then Nicodemus comes in. He doesn't have magic anymore. He voluntarily chose to become a vampire. It is public knowledge, so he was stricken from the book, which basically means you're not allowed to talk to him. He doesn't have magic anymore. He doesn't exist, basically. But he doesn't have magic, so he's telling Baz what to do. And then Baz does it, and then they escape. And then Penelope kind of possesses a dog, who, speaking of dogs. Hello, Loki. Whole thing is just a bunch of... Come here. Loki. Loki. Come here. Loki. Loki. Come here. Loki. Or you can go over there. You want to come over here? You can't get... Okay. It's my dog. Sorry. So, Penelope pisses the dog, tells Simon that he thinks tells Baz, that she thinks there's a problem with Simon going to talk to the maid. She's nervous about it. Understandable. I relate. Oh my gosh, this is the kind of lighting that I was wanting. I don't, what is up with my phone? Okay, so, yeah, so Baz goes to pick up Penelope, still has Nicodemus, and just kind of I don't know where Nicodemus went, actually. But, because Baz is not taking Nicodemus to Watford because of what happened with the vampires there. Like, he's like, no, that's not happening. But Baz goes, picks up Penelope, they race to Watford. Agatha actually had already gone to Watford because of what happened at Baz's estate. We didn't really know, Baz's house. We didn't really know what happened we didn't really know this happened entirely. Like, it was kind of alluded to, but not fully. But yeah, Agatha goes to talk to the mage at Watford, and this is when the whole big climax ending happens. So, Agatha goes to talk to the mage first. She gets there first, and she gets attacked by the mage. Because the mage is actually not a good guy. Sorry for that. And then, so the mage attacks her. Agatha then, the mage attacks her, and then Ebb comes to save Agatha and sacrifices herself in the process, so Agatha can get away. Then comes in Snow. He sees what happened to Ebb, and he just lashes out entirely. He goes completely apeshit. Kind of. Like, he's trying to like, the mage is trying to get him to give up his magic, but then the humdrum comes, because snow starts going off, so he starts drawing from the atmosphere, and that's what's creating the humdrum. The humdrum is a representation of the loss of all the magic. So as the holes in the atmosphere the more holes there are, and the bigger the holes are, the more powerful the humdrum becomes, because it's just a representation of the holes. Simon just fills all of his magic into the humdrum. The humdrum disappears, except for the fact that the holes aren't really replenished that we know of. But that happens. This is actually after Baz and Penelope get there. But Simon loses his magic, but he keeps his wings and tail, because he sprouts the dragon wings, and he also gets a tail now, and he flies off to the mage. Then Baz and Penelope come, and they try and save him. The mage dies in the process, like, just dead. And then that's basically the end of the big battle. The humdrum is gone, the mage is dead. That's story-wise. Other than story-wise, that's kind of it. Like, for the main conflict. There are a few other things that they cover up. They finish up, though. That's what the epilogue is for. The epilogue is great. I love the epilogue so much. There are people upstairs talking very loudly, but I can't ask them to stop, because this is their house, too. So, the epilogue is great. It's basically Penelope talks about what happened afterwards to Watford. Now, both Penelope's mother and father are both professors. They can both teach. So Penelope's mother becomes headmistress of Watford. She's the permanent headmistress of Watford, instead of the mage, who was temporary until all of this business with the humdrum was resolved. Unfortunately, he died in the process, but not many people on the Coven really liked him, because he was a hyper-radical who kicked out all of the really powerful old families. So Headmistress Bunce comes. I'm picking you up because you're starting to scratch at my bookcase. That's not nice. So Headmistress Bunce takes over. I'm going to scoot in a little bit. And so Headmistress Bunce takes over. But Penelope had the option to go back to Watford. Her mother said that she could if she wanted to. But she didn't want to, because Simon wouldn't be there. Simon doesn't have magic anymore, so he wouldn't be allowed in. But Baz does go back, because, like I said, education was really important to Baz's mom, who's now dead, dead. So that's a big thing. Then Baz comes along, and so Baz finishes up top of the class, because it's always a competition between him and Penelope on who's going to be top of the class, like, education-wise. They all knew who the most powerful one was, but he's also kind of dumb. So that happens, and then there's the Leavers Ball. It's one last great hurrah of, yeah, this is your last time you're going to be here as a student. Okay. Baz doesn't really have anyone to talk to, though, because all of his friends either have dates or left him because he became friends with Simon. They don't really know the extent to all that yet. But he ends up talking to Headmistress Bunce about Latin prefixes, because the more languages, because it's about common phrases in language, it's not just English, it's French, Hindi, Latin, Greek, all of any spoken language, any common spoken language, because it has to be words that are still used. Okay. So he talks to Headmistress Bunce about Latin prefixes, because that's the thing you do. But then you have Simon who comes in. Simon technically shouldn't be there. Penelope had to let him in. We don't talk about. Shh. We don't need to know. It's fine. But they have their last, Baz and Simon have their dance. It's really, really cute. They talk about, Simon having a tail, and how even, Simon is worried that Baz won't want to be with him because he's no longer magic. Because magic's a big thing to Baz, because his family's so powerful. Baz is like, no, I still want to be with you, because, like, this is something he's been wanting since he was, like, 12, and I'm just like, ooh, the feels. So that was really cute. But then Simon has to ruin it at the end by saying, hey, you think we can get some food? And I'm just like, me. Really romantic moment. Hey, you think we could go get some food? Me right here. This video is gonna be really long. I'm looking at, like, this segment's like 18 minutes long. But it's fine, because I'm happy to talk about this. Okay, and then Agatha, it turns out, left. Like, she left England. She is now living in California, like San Diego. And she dates hipsters now, so that's cool. Now, I brought up the fact of only 2 people know, earlier, I brought up the fact only 2 people know who Simon's parents are. Those people are Simon's parents. That is, his parents, big, huge spoiler, the mage, and the mage's ex-girlfriend / fiance thing. And that's a big deal. Like, a huge deal. So, what does it mean? What does this mean? Well, it means a lot of things. But those things are really, I have already explained what those things mean. Like, Simon may or may not have killed his father, so that's a thing. And just a lot of other things that go into a similar effect of, you know, that. So, but Lucy, Simon's mom, who is the one who named Simon Snow, and then we don't know his last name, but Snow is actually his middle name, but his last name's Snow. Lucy actually ran away, like, after Simon was, I don't know if she died, I don't know if she died, or if she, like, just went away. It never really says, because Lucy has a few chapters that are in her point of view, kind of explaining the backstory. And it explains how she had some issues with the pregnancy, but it doesn't say she died, and everyone says she left for America. So, like, even Agatha, who's currently living in San Diego, in California, which is the same area that, Lucy left. Like, Lucy went to, apparently. Says that she did, but she says she's never met her. So, we really don't know for sure what happened to Simon's mother, but we know that Simon's dad is dead. Okay, and then, yeah, that's pretty much, oh yeah, absolute final chapter of the book. It is in Penelope's point of view. Is it in Penelope's? No, it's in Simon's point of view, I want to say. Yeah, Simon's point of view, absolute last chapter. Goes from 512 to 517. It's a pretty short chapter. This book has a lot of pretty short chapters, though. Simon and Penny get a flat together in London. I don't know why okay, Simon and Penny get a flat together in London. Baz is going to be going to school for economics. His parents would rather go to Oxford, but he said, no, I would literally rather die than not be in London with my boyfriend. Which Baz's dad is super thrilled for, as you can imagine. I know. But yeah, so, and they say, you know, the reason we didn't do it, other than one, we don't want to, fan fiction is a thing. But the reason the story gives that Baz and Simon didn't get a flat together is because they want to have some space, because they've been sleeping in the same room for 7 years. And I'm like, I understand, it's fine. Okay, so, but it's really cute, you know, it's a good happy ending. I know that I need more of this, but I don't know if it needs I don't know. I need more, but I also don't know where it would go. Like, what I just need is, I just need a TV series of after this, or like an animated YouTube series, maybe, of just after this. And it's just, like, really, it's basically just, like, fan fiction, but, like, a TV show, and more in depth, and not smut. We don't need smut of this. This is too pure. Even though there's some fan art that I found, which is related based off something Baz said. Baz describes wanting to spit on Simon's cheek, lick it up, and then make out with him, which is kinky. I found that fan art. I will, if I can find it again, I'll post a link to it down below. I'm gonna post a couple links down below. So yeah. It was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I give it a solid 10 out of 10. I don't know what book I'm gonna read next yet, but I do know, I know I said I'd try and give these, the new book in something like this, but as of right now, I don't know yet. I'll have the links below. Sorry about that, I just got a phone call in the middle of filming my outro. Yeah, I'll put a link in the description to Tumblr, Instagram. I will definitely be posting that when I decide what book I'm going to do. I'll look in my shelves to see what I have. I hope you really enjoyed the book. If for some reason you've gotten to this point in the video and you haven't read the book yet, go read the book. I skipped over a lot. I know I went pretty in-depth plot-wise, but there's a lot of nuance that I missed because I could not spend an hour talking about this, unfortunately. There's this thing known as a life that I have to live. So, with all that said, I guess, this will be the end of the video. So I get to go have fun editing together this video and then trying to upload it to YouTube. Wish me luck. Goodbye.